Hey guys, so today is Saturday the 6th of June. About an hour after we received the first phone call about both the conditions of my mum and my brother, we received a second one, what my nan did. She was talking briefly to someone and then she just passed the phone to me. It was some lady. She reiterated about the C-section. She mentioned the underweightness of Andras. He was 3 to 5 weeks premature. I shouldn't even be smiling. But she started talking about mom's chest. There's a high, intense percentage of COVID. The very first reaction I had was like, you guys are joking. Not as in like, is this some kind of sick game or like, I'm dreaming sort of thing. I'm like, my mum prophesied about this. Honestly, this is what kind of divides a child of God from any other individual. Someone could hear that news and immediately be fearful, immediately be scared, immediately fall into a lapse of anxiety, a lapse of depression. There is power in what people say. Like the moment you speak something, it's already come into existence. A few minutes after I dropped the phone call, I immediately rebuked that spirit. Like, there is nothing wrong with my mum except whatever spiritual forces are trying to kill her life, trying to kill the destiny that God has in her. Like, sometimes you really have to be like that. It's not me being all religious and spiritual and things like that. This is real stuff. My reaction being like, what? I somehow knew that, that was going to come out of the lady's mouth, and it did. This is something that is definitely a testimony to God's goodness above all else. God's power. Continuing on, she's like, oh, we probably all have corona, so we have to self-isolate for 2 weeks. Then mentioned in the condition of Andras, underweight, 3 to 5 weeks mature, premature. He needs to be transferred to another hospital. He currently has breathing difficulties. That was the end of the call. We call my other sister, and within an hour we just start praying, we start speaking in other tongues, we start worshipping God. From 8:30 to 9:30, I just came in here, I shut off the rest of the world. I just started putting worship music, songs of praise, praising God, because I know, my God, if there is any place where God has to show up, it's definitely here and now, because the blood is in it. His spirit is upon those lives. And as long as the spirit is in those lives, nothing in all of creation can ever try to break down, try to shut the door that God has opened. I speak with my mom every day. She's always speaking with us and things like that. And when you receive certain news like this, you can either be scared or you can practice your faith. I practiced my faith. So for that whole hour before our family went into prayer, I think yesterday I was like, God, that's it. I'm done with everything. I'm dropping everything. We were the very first to see us, to give us a spirit, to choose how we were going to be created. I began speaking to God. I was like, God, I'm holding you accountable. You are the God of many things. You are a just, holy, righteous, merciful, loving God. But you are a God of the impossible. And so today, I ask you for the impossible, God, because you are the God of impossibilities. You are the God that if I put even a small amount of faith, if that is all the faith I have and I put it into you, you will produce 100-fold. I eventually stopped weeping. I stopped crying. I began to, I don't know, I can't explain it. I really cannot explain it. The way other Christians would respond to stuff like this, calling hellfire and things like that, that's religion. And this is something that my mum would always tell me and tell those around her. He's like, don't conform to religion, conform to God, because God is not a God of religion. It was so easy for me to lose my faith in God's promises. It was so easy for me to wallow and look through the tunnel instead of keeping my eyes on the light. But you keep your eyes on God. You don't look around in your surroundings. You keep your eyes fixed on God. No matter what seems to be going on around you, nothing, unless you let it, will be able to stop you from your destiny that is God-given, God-inspired. and God ordained. And so around 9:30, from 9 to about nearly 11, we prayed. Mirandi was on the phone with us. It wasn't one of those devil be cast out kind of prayer. You look to God. You don't look to the situation. You don't start blaming devil this, devil that, devil this, devil that, devil this, devil that. Like, you could be saying all that. Devils are up there rejoicing. Demons are up there rejoicing. They're fearing us. Oh, no, that's not how to pray. Let me talk about today. I was so uplifted. I was like, you know what? God, I can worry, I can stress, but that's not going to change the situation. Nothing in the physical can change what's in the spiritual. And nothing that you do in the physical can change the spiritual. God, all of my worries, all of my anxieties, all of my fears, all of the worst case scenarios that are trying to play in my mind, I lift it for you, because that woman and that child are both covered by the blood. Not because of who we are, but because you are an impossible God. And you're not only an impossible God, but you are a faithful God. You are a just God. You know, you need to hold God accountable. This is why you need to read the word. I really started to read the word, like, not just read for the sake of reading, but reading to understand, reading and asking God questions. I woke up with this sort of mindset. The battle of the mind is strong and it's really powerful. But, you know, I thank God for the Holy Spirit again. My nan and I tried to call the hospital. They were like, oh, we can't disclose any information unless you're the parent of the child or the spouse or things like that. My nan called first. They told her no. And then I took her phone and I called. It took about 3 minutes. Then the woman tried starting saying the same thing to me, but I'm like, no, I'm sorry. You cannot expect my mom to just pick up the phone when she's unconscious. She's on life support, life mother effing support. I didn't swear, by the way, I don't swear now. And you cannot just tell us to call her because she's unconscious. Her phone, even though it's on, she's unable to pick it up. It doesn't appear as if any doctor or any nurses around her to pick it up for her. Obviously, she again didn't really give us any information, but it put us in a quicker process of the consultant getting into contact with myself, which she did do a few minutes after. So my mum is breathing. She is, God, only God knows. As for Andras, the consultant said that she would call back in about an hour, so we're just waiting for that. God is not a bad God. He is honest. He is dangerous. You don't mess with God. I'll probably pick this up again when something happens, such as the phone call. This is to God's glory, guys. Like, He is a God of the impossible. They could have both easily died, but no, because God is faithful to finish what He has started. He who began a good work in you will be faithful to complete it, to finish it to the end. This was not her end. This is not his end. In fact, it's just the beginning. It's around 1-ish. Just had the phone call with the consultant on call. I accidentally missed their call a couple of times, even when I had my phone on me, but to God be the glory, I managed to get through. My mum is responding extremely well. They called out her name. She opened her eyes, so her response was really, really good. They've stopped the sedatives with her, so it just means that she's on the oxygen. Tomorrow they're going to try and test her condition by removing the oxygen. It's the exact same thing for Andras as well. Yesterday they said that he was barely breathing. He was relying heavily on the oxygen that he was getting, but he is also responding really, really good. It doesn't look like it's going to be a life or death situation anymore. Tomorrow he's going to be, he's going to have the oxygen taken away. The hospital people then are going to take some photos of him. You guys saw me crying yesterday. I was a mess. But God done changed a mess into a message. If this video message can really penetrate through you guys, not my situation, not my own self, I want you to really remember, but is that God is real. When I'm just talking, people don't take you seriously. People have had enough of just people talking Christianity, but it's all about acting upon that faith that first encouraged you to give your life to Christ. I don't really feel like I need to speak to somebody here. Too many people are just walking dead Christians. You are followers of Christ, but you deny the power thereof. To be a follower of Christ, you need to die to self. I need to die to myself every single day and choose to follow the path that Christ led, not for my own selfish desires, but so that even one person may see and believe in his works. And you know, if this video, this series saves just one person, what changes the heart of just one person, then out of the 20 something views, 30 something views that this video may receive, then I know I've done something. And it's not for me to boast, but this is really to show that God is real. God is real. God is the God of the impossible. There's no one like him. No one. When my mother and my brother could have died last night, they are both here, rapidly improving. There is no other person, no other thing that deserves the glory and the praise for such tremendous work as my Father God does. This is what I was saying earlier about holding God accountable. Not, I say holding God accountable, but you also have a part to play. I was holding God accountable, but that was because of what I knew. And what I knew didn't come from here, didn't come from in here, but it came from here. When I was worshipping, the first few songs, I was just crying and understanding the words that they were saying. But then God opened me. I had that moment to cry. But it's not about that. It's all about this. I'm just about to go for a nap. It's about 5 now. About half an hour ago, I got a private call from the hospital again, just letting us know that our mum is off the tube. She's breathing fine, she's awake, she's conscious, she's apparently speaking.